Forget the crowns of Europe. Forget the glittering palaces of the East. The true cradle of civilization, the birthplace of majesty, lies elsewhere.
For centuries, history has often relegated Africa to the periphery, a continent of myth, not monarchs. But the truth is etched in stone, gold, and blood across millennia. Africa was ruled by empires of astonishing sophistication, power, and wealth. We're talking about a queen whose navy dominated the Mediterranean, a king whose wealth was so legendary he became the richest man in history, a warrior queen who held the Portuguese at bay for 4 decades. This is not a story of primitive tribes. This is the forgotten history of African kings and queens, the pharaohs, the Mansa, the Nzinga. Their stories don't just belong to Africa, they belong to the world. And it's time to finally listen.
Our journey begins where time itself seems to begin, along the life-giving Nile River. For thousands of years, the world recognized the grandeur of ancient Egypt. But by the 8th century BC, while Egypt was fragmented, a powerful kingdom arose to the south, Kush, centered in what is now Sudan. And from Kush came a line of rulers so mighty they conquered and unified Egypt itself. These were the Black Pharaohs. The most prominent was Pharaoh Piye. By 730 BC, Piye led his army north, conquering every regional ruler along the Nile. He didn't just invade, he restored. Piye saw himself not as a foreign conqueror, but as a righteous ruler destined to revive the purity of Egyptian religion and tradition. He documented his entire campaign on the Stele of Piye, a massive stone tablet detailing his pious acts, his devotion to the god Amun, and the meticulous care he took after victory. The 25th dynasty, or the Kushite dynasty, ruled for nearly a century, leaving an indelible mark on Egypt's art, architecture, and religious life. Their legacy? They proved that the seat of power and civilization in the Nile Valley was not bound by arbitrary borders, but by the will and vision of its monarchs.
Later, as the center of Kushite power shifted further south to Meroë, the rulers became known for something unique. A powerful tradition of warrior queens, known as the Kanteke, or Candace. Perhaps the fiercest of these queens was Amanirenas, ruling in the 1st century BC. While the Roman Empire was at its zenith and carving up the Mediterranean world, Amanirenas faced them directly. In 25 BC, the Roman governor of Egypt, Aelius Gallus, made the mistake of leaving the border vulnerable. Amanirenas, described as fierce and perhaps even one-eyed from battle, launched a devastating counterattack. Her forces sacked Roman garrisons and, most famously, beheaded a bronze statue of the Roman Emperor Augustus. The Meroitic forces held their own against repeated Roman assaults. The resulting peace treaty, signed with the great Augustus himself, was highly favorable to the kingdom of Meroë. It established a respected border and waived the Roman tribute, a rare victory against the seemingly unstoppable Roman machine. Amanirenas proved that the power of African sovereignty could not only withstand the might of Rome, but could force them to the negotiation table.
Now, we turn our gaze west to the heart of the great trans-Saharan trade. Across this vast desert moved not just salt, cloth, and ivory, but gold. And the empires that controlled the gold were the wealthiest the world had ever seen. Mansa Musa, the man of gold. No figure embodies this golden age more than Mansa Musa I, the 10th Mansa, king of kings of the Mali Empire, ruling in the 14th century. The Mali Empire stretched across a territory roughly the size of Western Europe, encompassing some of the world's most productive gold mines. But it wasn't just his wealth that made him legendary.
It was how he used it. In 1324, Mansa Musa undertook his Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. This was not a quiet trip. He traveled with an entourage estimated to be in the tens of thousands and hundreds of camels laden with gold. As he passed through Cairo, he gave away so much gold in generous gifts and large purchases that he single-handedly devalued the price of gold in the region for a decade. Mansa Musa's Hajj put Mali on the global map, but his true legacy was the intellectual flourishing he fostered upon his return. He imported scholars, architects, and books, transforming the city of Timbuktu into a global center of learning. The Sankore Madrasa, a major university, housed hundreds of thousands of manuscripts, covering astronomy, law, mathematics, and medicine. Mansa Musa showed the world the staggering power that could be generated by African enterprise, faith, and a deep commitment to knowledge.
Following Mali, the Songhai Empire rose to dominance, reaching its peak under Askia Muhammad I, known as Askia the Great, in the late 15th century. Askia did not inherit the throne. He was a brilliant general who seized power. He transformed Songhai into the largest and most powerful state in West African history, modernizing its administration, standardizing weights and measures, and establishing a professional army. But like Mansa Musa, Askia's greatest impact was his commitment to learning and religion. He further institutionalized the Islamic intellectual tradition, elevating Timbuktu and Djenné as centers for religious and secular scholarship. Under his reign, Songhai's legal system was renowned for its efficiency and fairness. He proved that military strength and economic prosperity could coexist with intellectual enlightenment, a model of governance that inspired kingdoms across the continent.
As European maritime powers began sailing south, the economic landscape of Africa changed tragically. New coastal trading posts brought new demands, first for commodities, then for people. But African rulers were not passive victims. Many actively and intelligently resisted. In the 17th century, the Portuguese obsession with the slave trade threatened to destroy the kingdoms of Ndongo and Matamba, in what is now Angola. Standing against them was the extraordinary Queen Nzinga. Nzinga was a diplomat, a strategist, and a warrior who understood her enemy completely. Her resistance began with shrewd diplomacy. She famously met with the Portuguese governor, arriving to find only one chair, a calculated insult. Rather than standing, Nzinga had one of her attendants immediately drop to all fours, creating a human chair. She met their disrespect with an undeniable display of her own power. When diplomacy failed, she fought. For nearly 4 decades, she waged a brilliant guerrilla war against the heavily armed Portuguese forces. She created a powerful coalition of local rulers and runaway slaves, offering freedom to those who joined her cause. She even established a unique gender-integrated army utilizing both men and women in combat. Queen Nzinga's legacy is monumental. She is a global symbol of resistance against tyranny and a testament to the power of a single, brilliant ruler to define the fate of her nation, holding off colonialism for a lifetime.
2 centuries later, in what is now modern-day Ghana, the Asante Empire faced a similar existential threat from the British. Their most sacred object, the embodiment of their nation's soul and sovereignty, was the Golden Stool. In 1900, when the British governor demanded to sit upon the Golden Stool, implying the complete subjugation of the Asante people, it was the final insult. At a council of dejected male chiefs, Queen Mother Ya Asantewa of Ejisu rose and delivered a speech that ignited a war. Ya Asantewa, quote, "Is it true that the bravery of Asante is no more? I must say that if you men of Asante will not go forward, then we will. We the women will go forward. We will fight till the last of us falls in the battlefield." She immediately took command of the Asante army, leading the War of the Golden Stool. For months, she commanded her forces against the technologically superior British. Although eventually defeated and exiled, her defiance was a moral victory. Ya Asantewa is remembered as the last true warrior queen of Africa, a powerful symbol of nationalist spirit and the enduring belief that a people's culture and sovereignty are worth the ultimate sacrifice. Our final stop shifts to the powerful military-focused kingdoms of southern Africa, kingdoms that fought for self-determination right up until the dawn of the 20th century.
In the early 19th century, a military genius named Shaka fundamentally transformed a small, insignificant group into the mighty Zulu kingdom. Shaka was more than a king. He was a revolutionary. He implemented radical military reforms, abolishing the long-throwing spear in favor of the ikawa, a short stabbing spear designed for close-quarters combat. He trained his soldiers to fight barefoot, increasing their speed and stamina. Most brilliantly, he perfected the bullhorns formation, an innovative battle strategy designed to encircle and crush an enemy. The Zulu kingdom, forged in this crucible of military innovation, became the dominant power in southern Africa. While his reign was marked by brutal consolidation, Shaka created a disciplined nation-state that was unified and powerful enough to survive the initial onslaught of European expansionism.
Shaka's legacy reached its ultimate test under his nephew, King Cetshwayo Kampande. By the 1870s, the British were determined to dismantle the Zulu military machine to secure the entire region for themselves. Cetshwayo knew war was inevitable. He refused the British ultimatum to disband his army. The result was the Anglo-Zulu War of 1879. In a shocking display of African military prowess, Cetshwayo's forces annihilated a powerful British column at the Battle of Isanlawana. The Zulus, using the disciplined tactics passed down from Shaka, delivered one of the most devastating defeats ever suffered by the British Army in its colonial history. Though the Zulus were eventually defeated through overwhelming force, the name of Cetshwayo and the Battle of Isanlawana became a powerful symbol. It proved that African sovereignty would not yield without a staggering, bloody fight.
From the Nile Valley to the vast deserts of the West, from the rainforests of Central Africa to the veld of the South, the historical record is clear. African kings and queens were not footnotes in world history. They were its authors. They commanded global trade routes, founded centers of learning that predated and surpassed many in Europe, faced down the most powerful armies of their time, Rome, Portugal, and Britain, and built enduring legacies of wealth, power, and fierce independence. Their stories are essential chapters in the human story, demanding not just recognition, but reverence. And our journey, a mere glimpse into this legacy, has just begun.